We are joined now by Andy Kendeigh from KETV. AK, what's going on?
Good morning. Morning, boys.
How we doing?
Mr. Volleyball now. Mr. Volleyball.
Mr. Volleyball.
How about your flexibility, AK?
I mean, geez, my goodness. Yesterday was one of the days of all days. They'll wake up call at 3 a.m. Nobody's going to complain. Nobody cares. I know. Nobody cares. But it was a fun day. I'll tell you what. It was this place is pretty cool, though. I mean, the setup here in Louisville is pretty cool. I've never been this first trip, and, man, they do it right. This arena, this KFC Yum Center, it's going to hold like 22,000. This place is really built for an event like this. And so today's a big practice day and interviews and all this stuff. So it's going to be a heck of a setup here. And you couldn't script a better Final Four in terms of what you were hoping for, all the top seeds making it first time in 16 years. So it's going to be a fun deal.
Yeah, it's such a big deal. Lauren is like, yeah, we may or may not get to pregame breakdowns for football. Like, I don't know if I'll be back in town. Isn't that hilarious?
You know what? We will get to the pregame breakdowns for football. It's just we just delay it for a week. How about that?
But
it is pretty interesting. Isn't it interesting though, fellas? Like, I have been so volleyball. It's amazing how big of a deal the volleyball is in this state, and not just Nebraska. Obviously, with Creighton's run and sending Cecilia out to State College, which was great. I mean, it is interesting. It's like, wait, Nebraska added a couple guys to their team, and a couple guys left Nebraska's team. And it's just interesting how the pecking order kind of shifts and shuffles depending on the how close of in terms of when the game is played. So since Nebraska plays tomorrow, I mean, this is the volleyball taking center stage right now.
Yeah, I mean, AK, you did say you couldn't ask for a better Final Four. I would have maybe asked for a Creighton-Nebraska matchup tonight or this weekend, but so I could ask for maybe a little bit better Final Four.
Sure. I was talking from a network perspective. We actually got to talk to. We got to talk to Katie George and Courtney Pyle, who's calling the matches for ESPN, and they were raving. So they did say what an awesome job that Creighton did at Penn State. Man, what a great season that Coach Booth, and the Blue Jays had this year. But in terms of what nationally they could ask for, this is probably what they were looking for with all top seeds here. And really, depending on who shows up and performs, it's anybody's. It's about, you can make an argument for all 4 teams winning this, and especially because probably the fourth of the 4 teams is Louisville, and they have home court advantage.
So it's interesting, AK, because you know me, I'll talk about volleyball any chance I get. So I'm glad when it's this time of the year when everybody will acquiesce. But with the 4 1 seeds and the way the sport's moving, then you turn around and you look at the volleyball portal. Are you more or less surprised that the 1 seeds held with almost every storyline of all these teams? It's, such and such who came over from such and such school, right? Like, it is very fluid in volleyball. Should we expect 1s, or because there is such mobility, it should be a little more spread out?
Well, I think you're going to see it going to be in years to come. It's going to be a little more spread out. That's what I think we have to appreciate, what not just Nebraska is doing, what Pitt is doing, like what they've been able to do over the last couple of years to bring their team back. Now, that's going to be a challenge but we saw, the effects of the portal. Just, you don't even have to go far. You just look at the match Nebraska's playing with Caroline Jurevicius and Mendelson leaving Nebraska last year and then being key players for Penn State. They match up against each other. And, by the way, Caroline Jurevicius in their meeting at State College, one of the 2 losses for Nebraska this year, she had probably her best match of the year. So, there's going to be some extra juice. But, depending on how colleges distribute their NIL, or not NIL, the money that they receive, the chunk, the 20+ million, how they distribute that throughout the sports, how much money goes to volleyball, in addition to the NIL, I think will really dictate who moves where. And I think Nebraska's pretty set up for that, because obviously you got the built-in fan base and, the backing and the support. So I think Nebraska's pretty set up for this new age of mobility for the student athletes.
How cool was it? Not cool, but that's not even the right word. How John Cook-ish was it that he can roll with the times where he, during an interview about Taylor Landfair, can walk off and say, that's what she's paid to do. Did you ever think,
oh yeah,
like that?
right, right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I know.
I've watched him
Mid-match, too.
recruit.
Mid-match.
Like, I've
Mid-match.
watched him close for years. His evolution in terms of what it takes as a lifelong learner is nothing short of amazing.
I couldn't agree with you more, BB. And watching him last night, you know, they arrived. They were the last team. They had some delays getting out of Lincoln. They had every right to just be a little bit frustrated. But, God, the joy on his face, the evolution of how he's – I mean, you know, and you don't usually put Joy and John Cook together in the same sentence, you know, but he was all smiles. And I think he knows he's got a really, really good shot with this.
Oh, it gave him time to do more TikToks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it's funny because we were talking about this last night. So, you know, the team arrives. It's like 10 o'clock, 10:30 Eastern time when they arrive, and he does a quick little scrum. And I asked him, I said, hey, are you a Muhammad Ali fan? Obviously, Muhammad Ali is a legendary boxer, and he's from Louisville. And so the museum is right down the street. And he's like, of course, he's the greatest. And I go, your kids, do the players know? And he was like, and he kind of rolled his eyes. He's like, they have no idea. But think about Muhammad Ali. You know, talk about the ultimate TikToker. Imagine if TikTok was there when he was around. My goodness. But back to your point, John Cook, you know, just to see his evolution, to see what he, you know, if you had said 10 years ago he'd be making videos with his players, I think people would have thought you were crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and now he just rolls with it. He's evolved in such a. It's just really cool to watch him become the person and coach he has become.
He's doing dances, wearing cowboy hats. He's got the whole thing going on.
Yeah,
I like the fact he knows he can't dance, but will try to dance anyway. I think that's what.
Well, isn't that all bad?
I know. Lauren just has to be rolling her eyes. She's like,
oh my god,
whose dad is this?
Well, it's funny because I'm like, Lauren, how do you set this thing up on my phone? Because I can't really get to this app. So she's kind of like my adopted oldest daughter at this point. She helps me with technology.
So you had to download TikTok so you could watch John Cook dance on TikTok.
Absolutely. No doubt.
What you do to stay up on the news, AK. I appreciate it. What's your schedule like, guys? So you're going to hopefully be there through the 22nd, maybe 23rd, and then you going straight to New York? You coming home for a couple days? What's your plan?
Well, first, should Nebraska make it to the Sunday, you know, the finals on ABC KETV, we're going to have a pregame show when Nebraska makes it to Sunday, I should say. So 1:30 there. And then we get home 23rd, home to celebrate Christmas. We fly out the 26th to New York. So
you at least get a couple of days.
Pivot. Yep. We'll get about 48 hours at home. They'll be good. It'll be good. My poor kids from college they're already home. They're like, Dad, when are you coming home? I'm like, I'll see you the 30th. I'll maybe a little bit on Christmas.
So that's the girl dad in you, though, because you have to like that. You know what I mean? I watch you guys interact and kind of tight knit as a family. Like, you're okay with Nebraska not having any media coverage in New York till after Christmas anyway, right?
Oh, I am 100%. Right now, don't get me wrong, BB. Don't get me wrong. The kids, they tried to lean on Dad, like, can't we go with you to New York? And I said, yeah, let me check the plane. Said, nope. We're gonna have you guys.
So it's a few less cheeseburgers, isn't it?
That's exactly right. Hey, they're already juiced up for Christmas Eve McDonald's cheeseburgers. It's Kendeigh tradition like no other.
So has the number of cheeseburgers lessened or grown with age?
Well, it's interesting. It started as full meals. Now it's just kind of it's almost an appetizer, side dish. But yes, it's probably
it's a pregame.
Probably the number of cheeseburgers has probably grown, even though we shouldn't be eating as many. But yes, it's probably grown over the years. But we actually make sure that the McDonald's is open on Christmas Eve and make sure we get there before it closes. And yeah, it is a weird tradition that's 50 years plus, and it will continue this year. And I'll make sure to tweet it. It's my favorite tweet of the year.
Is that so? You just go to the one on 132nd, right?
Oh yeah, right by the Walgreens.
Yeah,
it's the weirdest parking lot.
The worst.
That's the worst.
Yeah, the worst.
It's like you get your order and you're ready to leave, and you almost get sideswiped.
You're like, why am I in the Jiffy Lube parking lot now? What happened?
Exactly, 100%. You guys know it.
Oh yeah, all too well.
I just can't figure out why not a single Target in Omaha can have a normal parking lot. The one on 120th L is total garbage. The one over 132nd and Maple is total garbage. The one on
68th you can't even access from Maple. You have to come in along 168th.
Yeah, it's a mess. The most normal one is 180th and Center, and that one's still not great. Like, what are we like? Is Target just actively trying to make it harder to get to their stores?
They just make you want to work for it. And once you're there, then finding a parking spot. I went the other day. I was like, holy cow. Retail is back.
I mean, going to Target like less than 2 weeks before Christmas, you're taking your life in your hands.
100%.
I know. It's like you better put your mouthpiece in and your helmet.
Why don't you go to the outlet mall too, you psycho?
I know. Exactly. Here's an idea. How about the day before Thanksgiving, try Baker's? And that's you're on your own.
AK, how long before we actually talk BC versus Nebraska?
Great question. I think people will sprinkle them in as we go, but I think it will really kick up, Friday, Saturday, and then obviously next week. It really will ramp up, and I'll be fascinated to see. One of the great storylines is what's this defense going to look like?
Yeah.
I mean, and then who's going to run the ball, and how's the offense going to evolve into the month under Dana Holgorsen? I think it's going to be a fascinating game from a Nebraska perspective.
AK, make sure you get out there early. They might have you run the ball if you get there in time.
I'm talking about DV. Get DV out there.
Fudge. We're trying to win, AK.
Andy, we appreciate it as always. Happy holidays. Have a good little trip.
Thanks, fellas. Be good.